By the way, your session for tomorrow night sold out in 1 hour.
Oh my goodness.
We went for tickets and there was a big line, so I thought, are we in the right line? Let's go to the info center, and they told us there are no tickets left.
A stadium built for 2,800 people just got overruled by 5,000 tickets. Nobody expected this. Let's take a look to tournament directors, what he said.
At least 80%, if not more, of the requests. Super glad she's here. We love the fans that she brings.
Karl Hale had a problem most tournament directors spend a career hoping for. In under 30 minutes, the Wednesday night session at SoBi Stadium was gone. Sold out, not sold out over a weekend, not sold out after a marketing push. Sold out the moment one name appeared on a schedule. That name was Alexandra Eala, and the match she hadn't even played yet was already reshaping the National Bank Open before a single ball crossed the net.
But I'm transitioning into a new tournament, so I'm also super excited to be here in Toronto.
And be playing in front of a Toronto community that has a lot of Filipinos. By the way, your session for tomorrow night sold out in 1 hour.
Oh my goodness.
What is your reaction
amazing.
to that?
I don't even know what to say, but I'm really excited. I think the atmosphere is going to be crazy tomorrow. So yeah, I'm just going to focus on kind of arriving in the best shape mentally, physically, and ready to compete again.
This is not a story about a tennis match. This is a story about what happens when a box office stops behaving like a box office and starts behaving like something tournament organizers haven't seen in over 20 years. Let's rewind 4 days. The William H.G. Fitzgerald Tennis Center, Washington, D.C. Alexandra Eala walked into the 2026 Mubadala City, D.C. Open, the only combined WTA and ATP 500 level event on the entire calendar, and walked out of it a champion, not a finalist, not a breakout story that fell just short. A champion in a 28-player draw stacked with names that read like a highlight reel of women's tennis: Qinwen Zheng, reigning Olympic gold medalist; Leylah Fernandez, the tournament's 7th seed; Elina Svitolina, seeded 2nd; Naomi Osaka, seeded 3rd; and in the final, Jessica Pegula, the tournament's top seed, ranked world number 3. Eala didn't slip past these names. She went through them one by one in matches that got tighter and more physical as the draw thinned out. Against Zheng in the round of 32, it took 2 hours and 33 minutes and 6 converted breakpoints out of 8 chances to escape with a 3-set win. Against Fernandez in the round of 16, it was a straight sets battle where Eala won 67% of her first serve points. By the time she reached Svitolina in the quarterfinals, the match tightened to just 1 hour and 36 minutes, 71% first serve efficiency, a win that looked almost clinical. And against Osaka in the semifinal, 83% of second serve points won. That's not a young player riding momentum, that's a player executing. But this wasn't the end of the stories, because the final against Pegula didn't go the way finals are supposed to go. Sunday, August 2nd. Rain hit Washington. Pegula was ahead 6-4, 2-1 when the match got suspended and the players had to walk off the court mid-fight, mid-momentum, with the outcome hanging in the air overnight. Play resumed Monday, and what happened next is the kind of detail that turns a good tournament story into something else entirely. Eala won 8 straight games, not 4, not 6. 8 consecutive games to close out the second set 6-4, then bury the third set 6-0. Final score 4-6, 6-4, 6-0. Eala became the first player from the Philippines to win a WTA Tour singles title, took home $252,000 in prize money, added 500 ranking points, and put herself on track for a career-high position inside the WTA Top 20. Mark Ein, the tournament director in D.C., put a number on what he was watching happen in real time. At least 80% of ticket sales and requests that week were tied specifically to when Eala was scheduled to play, not the tournament as a whole, not the marquee names on paper like Osaka or Pegula. Eala's match times, specifically, were driving 80% of the demand at a combined ATP WTA 500 event that had every reason to expect its box office to be split evenly among its biggest draws. That number alone should have been the headline. A player who started the tournament outside the top 25 in the world was outselling former world number ones and multiple Grand Slam champions on her own schedule. But DC is a single data point, one tournament, one crowd, one city. The real test of whether this was a genuine shift or a one-week anomaly fueled by hometown excitement and a hot run was always going to be what happens somewhere Eala hadn't built a track record yet. That's DC. That's already done. Now here's where things shifted, because the real story isn't what happened in Washington, it's what happened next, 600 miles north, in a city Eala hadn't even played in yet, Toronto. The National Bank Open presented by Rogers. Eala entered as the 25th seed, not a top 5 name, not a household favorite by conventional tennis ranking logic. Her opening match was set for the Wednesday night session, August 5th, against American Alicia Parks. And the moment that schedule went public on a Friday night, something happened that Tennis Canada wasn't fully prepared for. Roughly 3,100 tickets moved in the direct window right after the announcement. Think about the sequencing here. This was a Friday night schedule release for a Wednesday match still nearly a week out. Tournaments don't typically see this kind of urgency that early. Fans usually wait, compare sessions, decide closer to the date. Not this time. By Sunday, August 2nd, the same day Eala was still fighting through rain delays in DC, before she'd even finished winning the tournament that supposedly justified all this attention. Every remaining ticket for that Wednesday night Toronto session was gone. Not selling briskly, gone. Sold out before the player who caused it had even lifted the trophy that was, in theory, the reason people wanted to see her. Here's the bigger question that creates: how does a 25th seed outsell a top 5 player in a market she's never even competed in before, and do it before her own signature win was even final? Karl Hale, Toronto's tournament director, had the numbers in front of him, and they didn't fit the usual model. He estimated demand tied directly to Eala at over 5,000 tickets, nearly double the capacity of the court she was originally scheduled to play on. The original plan had her opening on Grandstand Court, a 2,800-seat venue built for a solid, respectable crowd, the kind of court a 25th seed is typically assigned to by default. That's how tournament logistics normally work. Seeding dictates court size. Court size dictates ceiling on ticket revenue, and everybody moves on. That plan collapsed under the weight of actual demand. Tournament organizers pulled her off Grandstand entirely and moved her opening match to center court, 10,000 seats, a more than 3.5 times capacity jump, made in response to ticket pressure that, according to Hale, hadn't existed for a player outside the top 5 in Toronto for more than 2 decades. That's not a scheduling adjustment. That's an entire operations team looking at incoming numbers midweek and deciding the standard playbook didn't apply anymore. And this is where the story gets its sharpest edge, because Hale didn't just note the sellout. He reached for a comparison. He said the kind of pull Eala was generating hadn't been seen in Toronto at this speed for a player at this ranking since the era of Serena Williams. Read that again. Not impressive for a rising player. A direct comparison to one of the most commercially dominant athletes tennis has ever produced, applied to a 25th seed making her tournament debut. Hale went further, saying it plainly. Tournament directors across the industry are talking about it, and he'd never seen a player ranked outside the top 5 have this kind of effect on ticket demand. That's the contrarian read most recap coverage will miss. Eala's drawing power isn't rising alongside her ranking. It's already operating independently of it. The WTA computer says top 25. The box office says something closer to superstar. Rankings measure what happens on the court over the last 12 months. They don't measure what happens in a ticket queue the moment a name appears on a schedule board. Those two numbers are supposed to move together gradually over years. In Toronto, they didn't. One caught up to the other overnight, and Toronto stacked the deck further, whether by design or by circumstance. Scheduled directly before Eala's center court opener was Leylah Fernandez, the Canadian star who also carries Filipina heritage, facing Renata Zarazua, 2 players connected to the same diaspora community, back-to-back, on the same court, in the same night session. If you were trying to build the highest possible demand slate for that specific fan base, this is what it would look like. Whether that pairing was deliberate scheduling strategy or simple coincidence, but the effect on that Wednesday night crowd is not in question. 2 players, one shared heritage, one-night session, one already sold-out stadium before either of them served a single point. Consider what that means for the atmosphere inside a venue that already broke a two-decade demand record before the doors even opened. This isn't a crowd trickling in to watch a routine early round match. This is a crowd that fought for tickets, that watched a session sell out in half an hour, arriving to watch two players tied to the same community back-to-back on the same court. That's not incidental atmosphere. That's a night session built, intentionally or not, around a single audience's emotional investment. There's a second story running underneath all of this, and it involves a partnership most casual fans won't see coming. Doubles. Eala was granted a main draw wildcard into the Toronto doubles tournament, playing alongside 46-year-old Venus Williams. This isn't a new pairing. It started at the Bad Homburg Open in Germany back in June 2026, where the two reached the quarterfinals before falling 6-3, 6-2 to Olivia Nichols and Teresa Mihalikova. They were actually supposed to play doubles together in DC too, but Eala withdrew before that tournament started, a calculated decision to protect her body for the singles run that ultimately won her the title. Williams pivoted, partnered with Russian player Diana Schneider instead, and made it to the DC quarterfinals anyway. Now in Toronto, Eala and Williams get their rematch as a team, scheduled to open Thursday night on center court against Japan's Miyu Kato and Russia's Lyudmila Samsonova. Think about the logistics involved in this alone. Eala is expected to play her singles opener Wednesday night on a court that had to be upgraded to handle her own drawing power, and then turn around less than 24 hours later to compete in doubles on that same upgraded court, partnered with one of the most recognizable names the sport has ever produced. That's back-to-back nights of maximum physical and commercial demand, stacked on top of a tournament run in DC that had already gone the distance. 3 sets against Zheng, a 3-set rain-suspended final against Pegula that stretched across 2 separate days. A teenager who just won her first title, paired with a 46-year-old icon on the same court where the singles crowd just broke a 2-decade ticket record. It's worth sitting with how unusual that is. Wildcards into doubles draws are common. Wildcards that pair a brand new champion with a legend of Williams' stature scheduled into a night session on the same upgraded center court that just sold out for singles. That's something else. That's a tournament recognizing it has 2 commercially significant storylines wearing the same last name on the schedule and choosing to put them both on the biggest stage available, back to back. So here's where this leaves us. A 25th seed forced a 10,000-seat court reallocation in a market she's never played. A tournament director is comparing her drawing power to Serena Williams. And in less than 24 hours after her own center court debut, she's back out there in doubles with one of the most decorated players in the sport's history. On the same stage, in front of a crowd that sold out before she'd hit a single ball on Canadian soil. Karl Hale said it plainly. Nobody in the industry expected a player ranked outside the top 5 to have this kind of effect. The tournament directors are talking about it. The industry is talking about it. The only question nobody in Toronto has answered yet, because the match hasn't been played, is whether Alicia Parks and everyone standing across the net from Alex Eala for the rest of this tour is ready for what a sold-out 10,000-seat crowd is about to demand from her.